Hey, Lashpreneurs. This is a fun episode. This is a big episode. It's actually a two-part episode. I turned 40 this weekend. Holy cannoli, I'm revealing my age. Yep, the Lashpreneur turned 40. I feel maybe 32. I feel like I'm living my best life. My body's the strongest it's ever been. I am the most self-confident, self-assured, pretty darn clear on who I am in this life at 40. And I can tell you, it's amazing. My 30s, they were rough. They were very rough. I started my 30s going through IVF to have my son. And I'm ending my 30s really at peace with everything, all the trauma, all the life experiences that went down in my 30s that shaped me into who I am. So today and next week's episode, we're going to go through the 40 things I've learned about business and life in the last 40 years. Now, I came up with 80 things and I thought, well, I could do a 40 things I've learned in business and 40 things in life, but you know, who wants to sit here and listen to me all day long? Well, you do. But I wanted to keep these episodes short, empowering, impactful. Gosh, so much wisdom learned, I would say mostly in the last decade, but you know, life experiences leading up to all of the lessons and the takeaways that I've had over the last 10 years, if you will. So that's what we're going to dive into today. So this will be a part one of two parts. And I would love it if on Instagram, you can go to the Lessons of a Lashpreneur Instagram handle. That is where we are building our audience and our connection with you listeners and subscribers. And you tag me or DM me with what your biggest takeaway is from this episode and from next episode. So you can, you know, take a screenshot of you listening to it, or like, wow, number 7 really hit me, or that was so good, or that really resonated with me. I would love it. That can be your birthday gift to me for my 40th birthday. God, I'm old. All right. So let's just get in. Let's straight get into it. Okay. So number 1, the language of business is the financials. The language of business is the financials. This is something that over the past 3 years since I shut the business down has been a game changer in being able to, as Mama Lashpreneur always says, take the emotion out of it, which means that it's a lot easier to run a business when you know what the business needs, when it's straight up telling you the next steps, and then any resistance or emotion you have towards it is your work as the owner to do, but the business is very clear. So it has been my mission to learn the language of business. I've gotten really freaking savvy of it, and now I teach that. That's what we teach in our higher level programs. That's what we teach in Know Your Numbers. That's what we teach in Society Accelerator, Momentum Mastermind. It is something that makes running a business just so much easier, so much more simplified. Doesn't mean that you're going to want to do the things your business needs to do. That's where your work comes in. But really, when you can understand what the data, what the numbers are saying, your decisions become very clear. The ability to make those decisions and your desire to make those decisions, totally different story. Number 2, how do you eat an elephant? What, Tara? What? One bite at a time. My mastermind members hear me say this all the time, right? So when you have big projects or big tasks or big visions and big dreams, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, one step at a time, one day at a time, really helps take the overwhelm out of any big decision or any big project or any big goal. Number 3, you guys hear me say this. You'll either get the results you want or the lesson you need. Either way, you win. Now, I will say a lot of this stuff, the mindset stuff comes from my coach, James Wedmore. He's been my coach for years, and now I coach in his programs. And combination of Tony Robbins. He gets his stuff from Tony Robbins. I get it. It's hard to say, you know, what is an original thought from me versus what is it something I've turned into something from somebody I've heard from somewhere else. So I want to give credit where credit's due. James Wedmore, Tony Robbins, Joe Dispenza, those are where I feed my brain with these men who have amazing ways of looking at mindset shifts and perspectives in your mind-body connection. So I got that from James. You'll either get the result you want or the lesson you need, but either way you win. This reframes failure for me all the time. I say it probably 5 times a week, whether I'm saying it to myself, whether I'm saying it to my kids, whether I'm saying it to my clients or my students. It takes the pressure off of the goal and the result, that if you don't get the results, it's still okay because you're learning, right? That I think someday I may get tattooed. You know, do 40-year-olds still get tattoos? Maybe I'll get my first tattoo at 40 and say you'll get the result you want or the lesson you need, but either way you win. All right, number 4. More work creates more work. That's a fun one. That's a fun one to learn. It's a hard one to learn. Some of y'all just keep creating more work, and then it's a never-ending to-do list. So more work creates more work, and I have really, in the last year especially, my daughter has had some behavioral challenges. Girl's got ADHD, separation anxiety. She's got some struggles, right? And she has needed a lot of my time and energy bandwidth, and so my ability to be able to have more work and be able to do all the things I want to do has been severely limited. And I realize the more I pull back with the way that I've structured my business and built a team, I don't have to work as much to still get the same output, to still get the same results. And I have a stellar team, and I freaking adore them. They have made life so much easier over the past few months. But yeah, anytime you can just see it. If you reply to a bunch of emails and you get to inbox 0, the next day, all of those people have replied. So even the action of replying creates more work. Not saying don't reply to emails, but it is this never-ending cycle as an entrepreneur. And so being able to just kind of throw out some of the things that you're doing that aren't in alignment with where you're going can make the work a little bit more streamlined. More work creates more work. Perspective, number 5, perspective is everything. When you change the way you look at things, the things that you look at change. This is the thing I think I'm best at and strongest at as a coach and as a friend and as a member of my family, is being able to shift perspectives, not only for myself, but for anyone else. There's always a different way to look at things. Believe it or not, there's some people who just can't stand me. I know, right? There's people who look at me as really annoying. There's people who probably have a million different things they think about me that aren't positive. But I would assume if you've been listening to me for more than an episode, you may not have that same experience. Otherwise, why are you listening? So it is interesting when you can just perceive even people that you can't stand in your life. People that you are just like, I cut them out of my life completely. Somebody loves them, right? So it's all about perspective. It's all about how you're looking at things. You can label your business as a failure, where somebody else who hasn't even started their business can look at, wow, look how far she is, right? It's all about the perspective. And that to me is the crux, the heart of my coaching, is being able to get somebody to look at something through a different lens, through a different perspective, get them excited about the journey that they're on, right? You get the result you want or the lesson you need, just all about perspective shifting. So when you change the way you look at things, the things that you look at change, and perspective is everything. You want to be able to control your life? Change your perspective. Number 6. Oh, this one, my bestie Victoria, was a coach in one of our two of our programs, wrote this down as I was having a moment of enlightenment. I have these moments every once in a while where it's just, I don't know, a divine download, where I'll just be talking with her and I'll just say something that I don't know how it comes out of my mouth. I'm just going to call it some sort of divine intervention. But I said this: the brighter you shine, the more light you shed on others, and sometimes that brings out their shadows. Ooh, that was good. I'm going to say that one again. The brighter you shine, the more light you shed on others, and sometimes that brings out their shadows. The last 5 years, I have been on a personal development journey. I have been learning to love myself, becoming incredibly self-aware, being able to control my brain, my thoughts, to be able to get the results that I want in life. And that has come with a lot of wisdom, a lot of healing. And if we've ever met in person, you may have had this experience with me where you might just start crying. That seems to happen when I go to events, is people come up and they just tear up. Some of that is because you and I go way back. If you've been listening for a while, there's something I've said that may have had an impact in your life. And that is a representation of me shining brighter and sharing my knowledge, my wisdom, my experience. And for some people, they don't want to go on that journey. Right. And so I can be a mirror, and you all can be a mirror in your relationships too, of the work that other people need to do. And sometimes people don't want to do that, and they don't like it. They don't like that they're being confronted, and they start to either blame you, or they don't want to be around you, or they, push you away because you're bringing out something in them that is maybe a quality that they don't enjoy, that they should work on, but they don't want to do that work. So that happens to me quite a bit, is that I've especially found this in the dating world. I am divorced now. That was a gift in my 30s. That with who I am no different from what you guys experience on the podcast versus my real life. I coach people in my real life. It's a little bit of different boundaries when it comes to romantic partners and friends and family. But I do have deep conversations. I talk about the why behind things. I try to understand people. And sometimes people don't want to be understood on that level because they don't understand themselves. So the brighter you shine, the more light you're going to shed on other people. And that's a beautiful thing. That's a very healing thing. People are drawn to that light. And some people don't like that you're shining light on them because they've got some shadows, some skeletons in the closet they don't want seen. That was a good one. All right. Number 7, when you squeeze an orange, what comes out of it? Oh, I got this from Coach James. When you squeeze an orange, what comes out of it? Orange juice, right? Or essentially what's on the inside. So when people get squeezed, when they get stressed, what comes out? What's on the inside. So this was something that James walked me through, this perspective during the pandemic and during Black Lives Matter and a lot of the movements that were happening, is that he was just like, are you observing that when people get stressed, some people really, they start to pour into others and they start to, they start charitable businesses, or they're out educating, they're out supporting people. Some people attack other people and they get really nasty and gnarly and vicious. And it's like whatever's on the inside is coming out when people are under pressure. And so when you're under stress and pressure, how do you operate? What comes out of you? Do you start to lash out at people? Well, that's probably happening on the inside. But when you're not under stress and pressure, you're able to contain it and control it. So anytime you're having an experience of someone and they're under stress and pressure, watch how they treat you or watch how they treat others, because that's what's on the inside. And you can work to change that. You can work to heal that. You can work to fix that if you don't like it. But it is an interesting thing to kind of observe that when people are squeezed, what's on the inside comes out, much like an orange. All right, number 8. What don't we get more of in life? Time. Time is fast very quickly. 40 years felt like a blink. You can always make more money, but you can never get more time back. And people are so quick to trade their time for money, and there's nothing wrong with that. But oftentimes we will spend a lot of time working on things, giving away our time, spending time away from the people that matter most in our life, all for the sake of money. And then what happens when you have all this money but no people in your life because you didn't invest in those relationships? It's a hard lesson to learn. And I feel like a lot of people in my age range, give or take 10, plus or minus 10 years, start to learn that, right? In your 20s, you feel like you got all the time in the world. Why worry about it? I can hustle now. But then you just kind of create more of that. You create more work, right? And it's never ending. And so your kids are always kind of getting put off. Your partner's always getting put off, or, relationships are not being invested in because you're trying to hustle so hard. It's a hard lesson to learn this, but once you learn it, you don't have to unlearn it. You get to keep that gift with you. Sometimes people experience this when they have a really significant loss in their life, to kind of go, whoa, we are not guaranteed tomorrow. Holy cow, where am I spending my time and energy? We don't get more time in life. We can always make more money. And that's a really powerful perspective to have when it comes to running a business, because our business can suck up all of our time if we allow it to. Number 9, you grow through what you go through. It's real catchy, right? When I shut the business down in 2021, I knew closing it down, I would learn things that I would then teach other people. There was something I had to grow through. I had to go through it. I had to figure it out. I had to allow myself to entertain that juicy carrot of walking away from something that I had spent years and years building, but it just became too much. And for sure, that has been my experience. I knew within, I would say, a month after I shut it down, I had a lot of lessons I learned from that experience of giving myself the permission to walk away from something. It didn't fix the problems I had. I opened the business back up, fixed some of the problems, most of the problems, and now here I am 3 years later, and I have an amazing team that it doesn't require a whole lot of my energy and effort and sucking the soul out of my life. I have a lot of free time. It takes time to get there and kind of figuring out and learning along the way, get the result you want or the lesson you need, full circle. But you absolutely grow through what you go through. And so anytime you're going through struggles, know that on the other side of it, there's a beautiful life lesson. It doesn't make it any easier to go through. But if you look back at some of the hardest things that you've been through in your life, chances are they shaped you to who you are today. And you have some amazingly beautiful qualities or people in your life or series of events that happen. When you can start to look back at some of the hardest things that you've been through in your life and identify how the positive things came from it, no matter what that is, That's a game changer. That is a game changer perspective, to be able to not look at hard things as paralyzing or as consuming or as catastrophic as if you didn't have that perspective. So I look at, I lost a baby at 16 weeks pregnancy, a little girl named Kaya. And part of my grief journey and trying to get to the other side of grief was looking for Kaya's gifts. This podcast, this company, this business, my current children are all Kaya's gifts. Why? Because those things would not have happened had she been born. And so, the timing of when my kids are born wouldn't have happened if Kaya had been born. Me going through all the stress when I was grieving that miscarriage is when I went to beauty school. I would not have given myself permission, at least not in that time frame, to go to beauty school to learn how to take care of other women because I couldn't take care of myself at that time. So that's been one of the hardest things that I've been through. Even the demise of my marriage, which I haven't really publicly talked about, but someday. I've recorded like 17 different versions of a podcast episode around it, but just none of them seem right. But that has been the greatest gift of my own personal development and understanding myself and loving myself and relationships and empathy and everything I know about the mind-body connection, trauma experiences. Like, I wouldn't have had those understandings and that ability to be able to coach and serve others had I not gone through the experiences that I went through, mainly in my marriage. So you grow through what you go through. Number 10, what you resist persists. This is annoying. I don't like this one, but it is something I've learned. The life you want lies on the other side of letting that thing that you're holding on to go. Oh, you all just had something pop in your mind that you've been holding on to, and I just hit you like a ton of bricks. The life you want, the thing you want, is on the other side of letting go of that thing you're not letting go of. I have had to learn this very, very, very intensely. I would say 2 major times in the last year of things that I was holding on to. And it was based on fear. A mentor of mine calls it like holding on to the bag of rocks. You just keep adding more rocks to this pack and it just gets heavier and heavier and heavier until you're forced to let it go. And December, I had a big, big one that I needed to let go of, that I was afraid to let go of. And this is all conceptual, right? Like, I don't actually have a bag of rocks, but it felt heavy, like I was carrying a bag of rocks. And I let go. I finally let go. And it took me about 2 weeks to get used to letting go of control, letting go of the fear. And since then, the last 6 weeks, I have felt more at peace and not having that resistance, not having that fear stick with me. Things have unfolded in ways that, weren't bad or good. The worst case scenario didn't happen. The best case scenario didn't happen. It just kind of, life is lived in the middle. Oh, that's another one. I'm going to add that to a list for another day. So yes, what you resist persists. It continues on. If you resist doing marketing, you're going to need to keep doing marketing. That problem that not doing marketing creates is going to continue until you do marketing, right? As an example for business. All right. Number 11. Are you focusing on the money you can be making or the money you can be keeping? Big difference. This is kind of tied to the sales versus profit focus in your business. Most people focus on sales. Very few people know how to focus on profit. Yet your pay, that financial freedom, that time freedom that we all want when we get into business, is based on the profitability of the business, not the sales. Because you can have $100,000 a year business, but if it costs you $150,000 to run it, is it a business worth having? So are you focusing on the money you can be making or the money you can be keeping? You can also apply that to personal finance as well. Number 12, your breath is the most powerful tool to signal your body you're safe. You want an anti-anxiety tool to help you when you're feeling that tension in your chest or your stomach? Breath work, breathing. We'll do it right now. I'll teach you box breathing. I think I've done this before, but if not, let me teach you box breathing. It's a very simple breath work technique that you can do that's very quick. The breath work that I do is an hour-long session. It is like 10 years of therapy in 1 hour. It's amazing. I do it 2 times a month for myself, coach other people on it. Love it. So let's do box breathing so you can have one tool, one takeaway from this. You're going to close your eyes, not if you're driving or lashing, but at some point, you're going to close your eyes. And what we're going to do is we're going to breathe in through the nose for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4. So what I'm doing with my hands on the video, if you're not watching this on video, is I'm making a box with my fingers. So in for 4, up with the hand, hold for 4, across with the hand, out for 4, down with the hand, hold for 4, across with the hand. So it's like a big box. So let's go ahead and do that now. So you're going to breathe in through your nose, in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. Again, in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. Now you can go ahead and let your breath return back to normal. Usually I walk clients through 3 or 4 rounds of that. I kind of just pick up on, do their shoulders come down? Do they start to feel more relaxed? That's how you can signal your body you're relaxed, you're safe in the moment. When we have anxiety, it's because our body is in a fight or flight state. It does not feel safe. So we can start to rework our body to go, it's safe, it's safe. All of your fear, all of the threat is in your head, but you're physically safe. So we can kick ourselves out of fight or flight and get our logical, rational brain working when we can start to calm our nervous system down, and box breathing is one great tool. All right, so yes, your breath is the most powerful tool to signal your body you're safe. Number 13, the feeling you're wishing for in the future, you probably already have now in the present. What? I do this with clients. After we've done that breathing technique, I walk them through an exercise where, just depending on what feeling they want to have. So let's say you're stressed about money, right? You're stressed about finances. Oh my God, how am I going to pay all the bills? Da, da, da. Well, chances are in this moment, you're safe. It is the perceived threat that you won't be safe in the future, right? That's anxiety. And so oftentimes if we practice mindfulness or getting present in the moment, we can start to have that feeling of safety and security. We can start to get into our body going, my feet are on the ground. I feel myself in the chair. You can do some box breathing with that. And you can give your body that feeling of safety now that you are equating money to give you that feeling. All we're doing, and this is another one somewhere in here, everything that we do, we're trying to get something external to us to give us an internal feeling. But life hack, and I'll just say that this is number 14. Everything that you're trying to get a feeling from external to you, you can give yourself internally first. That's actually the game changer. When you can start to feel the way you want to feel first, you'll find that your external environment starts to mirror how you already feel. You want to feel safe and secure, work on feeling safe and secure in your body, then you will start to identify evidence in your external environment of where you do have safety and security. A lot of us want money, we want time, we want, all these different things that are external to us. But if you're listening to this right now, chances are you're physically safe. You may not be mentally or emotionally safe, but that's an internal state that we can work on. Right? So we can find areas in our life where we have safety. Maybe it's not financials that you're having an issue with. Maybe it's relationally. Maybe you're struggling with your partner, right? But you want to feel safe with that partnership, but you don't. But maybe you feel safe with your mom, or maybe you feel safe with friends. You can find areas of life where you already have that feeling instead of feeling like it's never there. I'm never going to get it. I'm never going to feel that way. I have to push, grind, work, harder. I have to do more to feel the feeling I want to feel. When chances are some area in your life, you already have that feeling. And when you can connect to that, retrain your body to feel how you want it to feel, then all of a sudden life kind of becomes a game. I want that. I don't need it because I already have it, but I want more of this. I want that thing out there. So let me just go have fun trying to get it, but I don't need it to feel safe, secure, whatever it is. All right, so that was 14. 15, money is an amplifier. What does that mean? No matter how much money you make, you don't actually change. You just become more of who you are, right? It doesn't cause you to be more happy or more loving or more peaceful. It makes you more of who you already are. So you can kind of see this in other people where, some people think about it like people who win the lottery, right? They're not all of a sudden like these different, more charitable people and, they usually just blow their money and then they go back to the lifestyle that they had before that. Maybe they've increased their lifestyle some, but it doesn't necessarily change who they are inside. You don't become more charitable when you make millions of dollars if you weren't already in like the giving spirit when you had very little. So money is just an amplifier of who you already are. And a lot of people use money to get the external things that they think are going to give them an internal feeling, but then they recognize, oh, money isn't actually the source of that internal feeling. It's a big game changer. Money just amplifies who you already are. Okay, so if you're already stressed and anxious, well, building out a lifestyle that depends on a higher income and more bills and more responsibilities, or more people coming at you wanting more money from you, doesn't actually change the fact that you're already stressed and anxious. It just changes the dollar on the screen, right? Maybe your environment changes, but it doesn't actually change who you are inside. Number 16, run a business, not a busyness. What does that mean? Don't get so busy making a living that you forget to live your life. Hustle culture, hustle mode is those who want to end up broke or exhausted or burnt out or with health problems. When you learn the language of business, the financials, it is not always going to require you to work more. In fact, most people work more because they're not actually clear on what the end destination is that they're working towards. They're just kind of running in circles. You're like a hamster on a wheel. If I just run more, you're still not going to get any further. I call it the hustle hamster wheel to nowhere, because you're just spinning your wheels in the wrong direction or just staying the same, rather than actually working towards the goal you want, because you're super crystal clear. When you're super crystal clear, again, this is another one that I've learned, so we'll call this number 17. When you're super crystal clear on the result that you want, your decisions to get there become much clearer, right? It becomes a yes or a no. So let's say I want to have a $100,000 a year business and I want to work 20 hours, no more than 20 hours a week, getting to that goal. Well, now my decisions become very yes or no, right? So if I want to add on, let's just even say I want to invest $3,000 into a PMU training, and, then I can charge $500 for PMU services versus, my $85 for an hour of eyelash extensions. Well, I can work backwards, right? $100,000 a year. Yes, higher ticket services would be great. However, it's going to cost me money out to go take the training. Then it's going to take me a couple months, maybe even up to a year, to get good at it to where I can charge the price point that I want to charge. I also need to be marketing to get clients in the door for that service. So am I getting any more time back by doing that? Or can I already just stick on the path that I'm on and just do it better? Create enough demand for the lashes that I already offer that I can maybe raise my prices so that I'm working no more than 20 hours a week and still making my $100,000 a year goal, right? So then it becomes, is option A going to get me closer or faster to my goal, or is option B? Maybe neither, right? So when you're crystal clear on the end result, then you can start to work backwards to get to the strategy. Most people get sucked into the strategy. Of course I would offer PMU at $500 for, 2 hours. And, that's like easy money, but it's not. It's not just the exchange of money for the service. You have a lot of work to do up to that point. So you actually may be getting further away from your goal of having time and money freedom in order to even get that thing up and running. So when you're crystal clear on the end results, your decisions to get to the end result become much more clear. All right. Learning, number 17, learning how to self-regulate is the greatest gift that you can give anyone in your life. What do I mean by that? Being able to understand when you're triggered. When you're triggered, it's your body going into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, right? It is your nervous system basically going into rut-row danger mode. You know that feeling when you slam on the brakes and you're trying to swerve and get away from, an accident about to happen, or you hear a screech of tires and you're like, oh no, that's fight or flight, right? You can experience that a lot in relationships too. They happen all the time. People trigger us, right? It may not be anything that they're doing. It just may be reminding our body and our brain of a similar experience that we're now all of a sudden back in. Okay. So when you can learn that that's happening and learn how to regulate your own emotions first, before you react, that is the greatest gift you can give anyone in your life, whether it's your partner, whether it's your children, your family, your friends, your clients, your team members, anybody in your life. If you can learn to take a pause when you're having an emotional reaction to something and sit in the discomfort rather than making everybody else responsible for regulating you, it is a gift you give to someone. It also makes you really hard to manipulate and control. What this looks like in my life is becoming aware that I'm having an emotional response that I don't know if it's accurate to the situation or not, right? I may be being triggered by something, or I may be afraid of something, or something's coming up. So giving myself a second to pause, to then either sit in the emotion, which is never fun, but this is another life lesson here. We'll call this 18. Your emotions are temporary. They're going to have a peak. They can't stay up in that peak forever. Okay, maybe it takes a couple days. It just depends on how good you are at regulating your body or being able to get the emotion to come down. It is a physical experience. What a feeling is hormones being dumped in your body from your amygdala where the fight or flight happens. It's the stress hormone, cortisol, coursing through your body. Your body cannot maintain putting that much chemicals and stress in your body for long periods of time without you starting to shut down. Eventually it would have you go to sleep because it can't sustain that stress level, right? So even just sitting in the emotion of it or going to bed or giving it a pause, you can find that each day it gets a little bit less, right? Even if it's something really, really hard, even a trauma experience, your body cannot live in that traumatic state forever. It does hold on to it if you don't discharge it though. That's why I like breath work. Breath work can discharge anything your body's holding on to. But any sort of feeling or emotion is temporary. It has a peak. It can kind of stay there, and that timeline will just depend on how well you are at regulating your own emotions, but it will come down eventually where your logic can start to kick back in and you can problem solve in a logical state as opposed to a fear-based state. So, learning how to self-regulate, greatest gift you can give anyone in your life. Next one would be that emotions and feelings are temporary. They have a temporary lifetime or a temporary timeline. And the better you can get at regulating your emotions, the more pleasant your experience will be in your relationships with people. All right. I think we're getting close to 20. All right. So call this 19, I believe. Failure is a choice. It's not something that happens to you. It's your choice to define a series or combination of events as a failure. Failure has no universal definition. It really doesn't. It is your definition of XYZ happened and I'm labeling that as a failure, and then I have all of this meaning on what failure means as for me as a person. If you don't want to feel like you failed, change the meaning. I actually like, this is a perspective shift. I actually embrace the idea of failure because it means I'm learning, because I didn't get the result I wanted. So I got the lesson, so now I can try it again and then hopefully get the result I want. Failure is the stepping stone to success. You can ask anybody who has gotten the result that you want to have. Did you get it right the first time? 99.999% said no. And those that got it right the first time, it was luck, so they can't repeat it. So they have to then go fail again to figure out how they did it the first time. Failure is the stepping stone to success. So it's also a choice. If you don't want your business to fail, don't do whatever it is that you're labeling as failure. Let's say shutting it down is a failure in your world. Well, then don't shut your business down, right? If you fail, quote unquote, by shutting your business down, that's a choice you made to shut your business down. You can always keep it open. You know, maybe it's not making money. Cool. You can always figure out how to make money at it, right? But you choosing to walk away from something is not something that happens to you. It's something that you chose. You chose to be like, this isn't worth it anymore. I'm walking away. Cool. It's a choice, not a failure. Ooh, ooh, ooh. All right. And then we'll wrap up with this. And this is going to have a little bit of a curse word. So any children listening, let's earmuffs it up. What the fuck are we working so hard for? Oh, it's fine to work hard for a season and have seasons of busyness. But most people, a lot of y'all, have made busyness a lifestyle. It's just your life to be busy and bouncing from chaos to chaos and never have enough time, and you never get to relax, you never rest, you never embrace, the now. You're always trying to get to the next thing. You're always trying to avoid the current reality, right? If I only had this XYZ thing in the future, and you're working so hard, but then you never actually give yourself a chance to enjoy what you already have. So what the fuck are we working so hard for? To get to some miscellaneous goal in the future that you're going to just be so used to working so hard that you don't even enjoy it then? So that has really been pivotal for me, especially when it comes to having children. Hustle mode. And I've seen this a lot in peers in my age group, that you spend a lot of time working in your 20s and 30s and trying to build this thing, but then you're actually not spending time with the people that you're trying to build something for. And then they start to grow up and you don't get that time back. And then all of a sudden you're like, what did I just spend all this time doing? And I missed out on moments with them. My ex-husband used to not like how much I worked. Now, to some extent, I was trying to escape him, so I liked working to avoid him. Story for another day. But it's interesting now because I put in the time when my kids were young, right? Where they wouldn't really have much memory. They weren't in school yet because I knew I wanted to have flexibility in my schedule. And so, yes, I worked quite a bit. Probably 40 hours a week, right? Like that's what I was working to build the Lashpreneur and put in the time to figure this thing out. So it was never more than like what traditional working hours are. Because now I maybe work, on a busy week, I work maybe 20 hours in a week. And that's a busy week for me. I go to work out at a 9 a.m. CrossFit class after I've dropped my kids off at school. That's from like 9 to 10, probably get home about 10:30, cook myself something to eat, have some food. So by 11 is when I'm logging in for work and I'm getting ready to focus in on work stuff, coaching calls, Instagram, whatever. And then I'm done with work by 3:00 because I go pick my kids up at 3:30. So on any given day, I may be working 4 hours, maybe. And then when my kids have school activities or a kid gets sick and they have to stay home, I don't work at all. I go do those things. I'm able to be there for all of my kids' events. It was very important to me as a mom that anytime my kids had something that was important to them, they'd look up and see mom there, right? I always want to be present for my kids. And there's times that it doesn't always work out and I have a little bit of mom guilt with that. But, I don't want to miss out on the important things in life because I'm working. And I get it. You guys, a lot of you are trading your time for money. And I totally understand that that's how the service industry is. But there's also a way for you to not have to work so hard even when you're trading your time for money. So if you are taking more than 5 clients a day, more than 4 to 5 days a week, you probably have enough demand to do a price increase. And that scares a lot of you. Like, oh my God, I'm going to lose clients. Yeah, that's the point. It's the point to lose clients so that you don't have to work as many hours, but still make the same income. There's ways to work that where you can be charging premium prices for a small handful of clients where you're not working more than 20 hours a week, making a great living so that you can be present where you want to be present. That is all within your control as an entrepreneur. You are the business owner. Nobody's coming in to tell you to take a vacation, to go spend some time with family, go take that weekend off. That's something I've been working with my bestie Victoria, who has a team of 4. She has been starting to feel a pull over the last 6 months of wanting to spend more time with her kids. And, she's been working Saturdays and, she's no longer in the treatment room. She's there fully supporting her team, but she has a really well-oiled machine of a business. And she was kind of having a breakdown at one of our retreats in November, just how much she wanted to spend more time with her kids. And so I said, why don't you just start taking Saturdays off? If your kids are home on Saturdays and you're working, your business can handle it. You can put some more responsibility on the team members if you want, but there's no reason why you necessarily have to be there. And she's like, yeah. So she was too afraid to do all Saturdays. So she did every other Saturday. It's a stepping stone. So now every other Saturday she has to spend with family, and spend time with family. And she just told me, I think it was last week, she's like, all right, by June 1st, I'm done Saturdays. I'm not doing Saturdays anymore. Right. And she's like, I might even pull back even more. She wants to, support the Lashpreneur and work in the Lashpreneur more because we just have such a good time. And she can do that remotely while her kids are in school. She's just looking at how do I do this? Right. And we'll get into next week on some stuff about, how to ask yourself better questions rather than, can I do this? That's a terrible question to ask. How can I do this? Much better question to ask. Right. So that is the part 1 of the 40 things I've learned in the 40 years on this planet. Let me know on Instagram at Lessons of a Lashpreneur Show, which one of the 20 of this week's episode was most powerful and impactful to you. Let me know what you like about the podcast. That would be a great birthday gift to me. Thank you so much for being on this journey with me. Stay tuned for next week when I go through part 2 and the final 20 in the 40 things I've learned in 40 years. All right, guys, have a good one.